Okay, so if you've ever been, like, completely pulled into a boys' love drama, a BL series, you definitely know the feeling.
Oh, yeah. That instant
Right.
connection.
It's the actors, you see them, the chemistry they have,
Yeah.
that electric silence just before something huge happens.
Yeah.
We really focus on that, the performance.
And, we should. The performance is absolutely vital. But today, for this deep dive, we really need to look just past that. Just a little bit.
Okay.
Because behind every single one of those perfect scenes, the moments that give you chills, there's this unseen architect, a really critical force that's shaping what you're feeling.
Oh, okay. You're talking about the screenwriter.
Exactly, the screenwriter.
The unseen hand kind of writing the emotional playbook. I find that fascinating because, well, we so often give all the credit elsewhere,
We
right?
do.
And our sources are really arguing that the writer, they don't just shape the plot, but they shape what you actually feel. Like deep down, they're crafting that whole emotional world.
And that's our goal here, to really dig into how the writer's specific voice, their intention, becomes the actual heartbeat of the story.
Especially in BL.
Why especially BL?
Well, because every gesture, every like quiet moment of longing, it's packed with so much cultural weight.
Yeah.
It's a layer of complexity that's maybe not always there in, a standard romance script.
Okay, let's unpack that. This core idea. We naturally, shower praise on the lead actors, and yeah, they deserve it. They bring it to life. But you're saying we're kind of missing the foundation if we stop there.
Yeah.
How can this screenwriter, this person we never see, really outweigh the sheer charisma of the actors on screen?
It's because the relationship itself, the dynamic that we all get obsessed with, it's actually built on the page first.
Right.
We're not just talking plot points here, like A meets B. We're talking about the intentionality behind it all. The writer is the one who lays out that whole emotional blueprint way before any camera starts rolling. So they're like the architects of the relationship. They don't just decide that two characters fall in love, but the how of it all.
Exactly. The how.
They're setting the pace, the rhythm, and maybe, crucially, what secret fears or baggage these characters bring that makes their connection feel so fragile but also kind of revolutionary.
That's the absolute key takeaway here. The script's power comes from that intentional design. The writer builds the core structure, who these people are deep down, what they're afraid of, and how finding love is going to fundamentally change them.
Okay.
So when you see that perfect accidental hand touch, or you hear a line of dialogue that feels so real you can't believe someone wrote it,
Yeah.
that started with one person at a keyboard, probably meticulously crafting that exact moment. The source material we looked at is super clear on this. The writer has to get that queer love, especially in these contexts, needs to feel both incredibly fragile and kind of world-changing at the same time.
That phrase, fragile and revolutionary, wow. That really highlights the weight of the job, doesn't it? It's not just writing a sweet story. It can feel like an act of visibility.
It really can be.
Okay, so moving from the internal stuff of the characters,
Yeah.
what about the world around them? That's also the writer's job, right? Creating the whole setting.
Oh, absolutely. Screenwriters are, first and foremost, world builders. They decide the setting, and believe me, that context shapes everything.
How so?
Well, think about it. Is this love story happening in a busy high school hallway where the risks are maybe social judgment, gossip, that kind of immediate pressure?
Right, yeah.
Or is it playing out in a strict corporate office? That forces secrecy, maybe high-stakes career risks. The setting completely changes the tone, the pacing, and what these characters actually have to put on a line for love to even have a chance.
And inside these worlds they build, they often use character types we recognize, right? The aloof CEO, the shy student. We know these archetypes. How does a good writer stop them from just being flat cliches?
Okay, yeah, that's where the craft comes in. The transformation happens when the writer gives them really specific, maybe even painful motivations that are written into the script.
So not just generic cold CEO.
Exactly. They take that cold CEO and they actually map out the emotional journey, the arc, where he learns warmth. And maybe the script tells us why he was cold. Maybe he never had genuine affection before. Or they give that timid student the journey to find courage. And it's not instant. It's shown as a slow, maybe agonizing process, detailed word by word in the script. It's about sculpting deep, relatable human desire, not just, hitting predictable beats.
I think this leads perfectly into something else.
Yeah.
The power of silence. We talk a lot about great dialogue, but so often, especially in romance or relationship dramas, The real tension is in what isn't being said.
Oh, absolutely. That tracks completely. A really great writer understands that more words don't always equal a better scene. Sometimes less is way more. In the hands of a really skilled BL screenwriter, every single pause, it's loaded. It has intentional weight. They sculpt that gut-wrenching tension, often not through, like, big plot twists, but through the sheer weight of the unspoken.
How do they even write that?
It's about description, about context, the ability to let a single look or a moment held just a fraction too long convey paragraphs worth of anxiety or longing. That's truly masterful scripting. It's capturing that fear held in a breath, right there on the page.
Okay, so shifting gears a bit. A huge chunk of BL dramas, maybe most of the really big ones, they don't start life as an original screenplay.
That's right. A lot of them come from somewhere else first.
Yeah, novels, popular webtoons, manga. So the screenwriter then faces this whole other challenge, the adaptation maze.
And honestly, that might be the trickiest part of the job. Adaptation isn't just like translating words. It's a real act of transformation.
What do you mean?
Well, think about it. You might have a beautiful paragraph in a novel, right? Detailing a character's crushing anxiety or their deep, unspoken longing. You can't just have the actor stand there and read that inner monologue out loud on screen. It would feel, well, ridiculous, clunky.
Right, totally. Wouldn't work visually at all.
Exactly. So the screenwriter has to figure out, okay, how do I take this internal feeling, the anxiety, the longing, the history, and make it visible, turn it into cinematic language?
So that feeling has to become maybe a specific look between characters, a hesitant gesture, or like we just talked about, that single-held breath.
Precisely. They're walking this incredibly fine line, this tightrope. On one hand, they have to honor the spirit of the original story. The fans demand it, and rightly so. It's why they love it. But on the other hand, they need to make bold choices to create something that actually works on screen, something that feels natural and has energy. They're constantly deciding, what beloved moment do we keep? What plot thread maybe doesn't translate well and needs to go? And crucially, what new emotional layer can we weave in to bridge that gap between the page and the screen?
But sometimes that transformation process, it can actually make the story even better, right? We've seen adaptations where the writer really digs deep.
Definitely.
Maybe they flesh out side characters who were kind of minor in the book, or they rebalance power dynamics that felt a bit off in the original. They expand on emotional stuff that was only hinted at before. The screen version ends up feeling richer somehow.
That's the absolute magic of brilliant adaptation. Taking something people already love and giving it this renewed, maybe even deeper cinematic life. It takes more than just technical skill with story structure. It takes real emotional intelligence. You have to understand why the original resonated so much in the first place.
Okay, let's talk about structure again, but this time, tropes.
BL.
Like pretty much any successful genre has its familiar patterns, right?
Oh, yeah. The accidental kiss, the enemies to lovers, arrivals to lovers thing, the whole we're just friends denial phase.
Exactly. And sometimes these get called out as cliches, like the genre is just repeating itself.
Well, skilled writers, the really good ones, they don't see them as cliches to be avoided. They see them more like traditions. Or maybe narrative tools.
Tools.
Yeah, like building blocks that the audience recognizes. They help people quickly settle into the emotional vibe of the story. The real key isn't avoiding the trope, it's finding a fresh way to use it. Or even subvert it.
Ah, okay. So the difference is the intent behind using it. That's what separates a story that feels tired from one that feels inspired. Using that familiar beat to actually say something new.
Precisely. They use those known moments not just to check a box, but to turn them into opportunities for genuine commentary or a character's confession, or maybe even catharsis for the audience.
Can you give an example of that kind of subversion?
Sure. You see it in how they deepen the character motivations behind the trope. The sources we looked at had great examples, like maybe the character who seems cold and distant.
Yeah, the classic Ice Prince type.
Yeah, right. Maybe he's not just a cliche. Maybe the script shows us he's fiercely guarding himself because he's faced years of social rejection or judgment. So that distance, it's a shield. It's written with purpose.
I see.
Or maybe the character who seems clumsy or naive isn't just there for comic relief. Maybe they're actually the bravest one because they're the only one daring enough to be truly honest and vulnerable in a world that, frankly, often punishes that kind of sincerity.
That reframing, giving the trope that deeper layer,
Yeah.
that feels like where the real societal impact starts to happen.
Yeah.
Because modern BL writing, the good stuff, it feels very introspective,
Yeah.
very fluid.
It is. And writers aren't just telling a sweet story anymore. Whether they realize it fully or not, they are actively involved in shaping cultural conversations and norms just by the choices they make in the script.
How so? Like what kind of choices?
Well, every single time a writer makes a conscious choice to portray, say, enthusiastic consent,
Yeah.
or real emotional honesty between the leads, or just mutual respect in how they treat each other, especially during conflict. They are scripting change, they're showing the characters, and by extension the audience, that tenderness or vulnerability between men isn't weakness, it's actually profound strength.
Wow. So it's almost like love written with truth becomes a form of activism.
In a way, yes. When writers choose to explore queer longing and connection as something deep and soulful, not just, for spectacle or drama, they're empowering the audience that sees themselves in that.
Yeah.
The BL dramas that really stick with you, the ones with that emotional intelligence, they almost always owe that impact to writers who understood they were part of a bigger cultural dialogue about identity, about love, about acceptance.
That's incredibly powerful. And it feels like maybe the industry is catching up to recognizing that importance.
I think so. As the whole BL industry just explodes globally, you look at Thailand, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, everywhere, we're finally starting to see, I think, this long overdue recognition for the writers.
It's about time.
It really is. The writer's vision is now, more often, being correctly seen as the absolute structural spine of the entire production. You can have the biggest stars, the fanciest production. But if that foundational script is weak, the whole thing crumbles.
So the future of BL, the next era, it really belongs to the storytellers who are willing to go deeper.
Absolutely. It's about seeing romance not just as, sparks and chemistry, which are great, but also as meaningful commentary. That's how the genre keeps evolving, beyond just repeating formulas.
Okay, so a final thought then, for everyone listening.
Yeah.
The next time you're watching a BL drama, and maybe a line of dialogue just hits you, like right in the chest, or a quiet scene feels so perfectly constructed, so full of meaning.
Just pause for a second. Take a breath.
Yeah. And maybe think about the courage of that writer, the person you don't see, the one who had the conviction, the bravery to imagine a love story like that could exist, even when maybe the world around them, or maybe even the world around you, told them it shouldn't.
Because ultimately, that courage, that willingness to write that truth, that's the real foundation of the story you love.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. It really helps the channel grow. See you in the next one.